as you heard Chris say, I don't know anything, right? I've never been in politics, so what do I know? But here's what I know. Ohio Senator JD Vance had quite a journey for the 39-year-old senator. Some might even call him the ultimate paradox, growing up in poverty in the Appalachian Mountains, raised by his grandparents. But Vance would go on to enlist in the Marine Corps, eventually graduate from Yale Law School. He wrote the New York Times bestseller Hillbilly Elegy, which documents the struggles he and his family faced in the Rust Belt, made into a movie. Today, he officially became Donald Trump's vice presidential candidate. Joining us now is Republican Governor Chris Sununu from New Hampshire, who's been critical of Donald Trump but announced he is still supporting his candidacy. Governor, thanks very much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. Your reaction to JD Vance as Trump's VP?
It's a good move. There's no question about it. I mean, you know, you have to look at a VP candidate and pick as the contrast to the current vice president. And it's a clear contrast. I mean, given how he grew up, the struggles he's faced, he's a Marine, incredibly smart individual. There's no question about that. And he's not, while he's in Washington, he's not deemed a Washington insider. He's only been there a couple of years, right? So he's not deemed as part of that establishment that they are trying to, and Republicans rightly so, want to disrupt and kind of allow that conversation happen where this is a ticket that will bring true change to the system and not just be part of it. So for a whole variety of reasons, I think it's a very, very strong pick. There's no question about that.
Now, let me ask you, one of the things I think that's going to come up, and they're going to probably end up in ads against him, are going to be comments that he has made about Donald Trump. This is just a few of them. This is number 2.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place. There is definitely an element of Donald Trump's support that has its basis in racism or xenophobia.
Do you think that that's gonna hurt at all? I mean, we had Chris Cuomo, and I don't know if you heard this, had a little back and forth at the top of the show with him telling me I don't know anything about what I'm talking about because of this, because he's a sellout, as Cuomo says.
Yeah. Look, the Republicans could play the entire debate clip where Kamala Harris tears Joe Biden apart for his comments on race, being friends with segregationists, and his views on busing. I mean, those two went at it viciously. There's no question about it. So, look, I'm only JD Vance can kind of answer for the comments. He obviously didn't know Donald Trump. They've established a relationship. There's some mutual respect there. There's an understanding of what this partnership would be for president and vice president, what those roles are. And again, it doesn't mean you have to agree on every policy or have, a 100% rock solid history. Clearly, that history doesn't matter. Donald Trump doesn't just pick folks to pick folks. He was going to pick someone that was going to be a true partner, right? He's not taking any chances with that at all. So I don't think there's any question of the relationship and the bond that exists and will continue to grow between JD Vance and Donald Trump. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, whole different story. I don't think anybody thinks that those two even like each other. I mean, really.
The difference is that JD Vance didn't run against Trump, so there was no reason for him to be bashing him apart from bashing him. But let me play what Biden has said about JD Vance. This is in an interview tonight that just came out. This is number 1.
He's a clone of Trump on the issues. A clone of Trump on the issue. So I don't see any difference.
That's not from the interview, but that is a statement that he's made recently. You think he's right?
No, look, Biden's going to say anything he can to deflect from what you're seeing on your split screen right now. It's energy. It's a Republican Party that's being defined by coming together and unifying the country. The Democrats right now are defined by disarray. I mean, more than half the Democrats in this country don't want their own guy on the ticket. They want to switch him out. And as was discussed at the top of the hour, there's still a lot of conversations going on there. So you have a party that's unifying and a party that's in disarray. That's A versus B. That is a direct contrast from one to the other. Biden's going to say anything he can. But look, I don't think Biden's an evil guy. He's just a lost old man, and everybody knows that. Everyone can see that, right? And so the party rhetoric, the liberal media rhetoric, the social media rhetoric right now is not where it needs to be for the Democrat Party. I mean, even Biden talked about we need to unify the country 24 hours ago, and what did he say today? That Trump and Vance were a threat to democracy, right? The Democrats are start talking about these existential threats to America, a threat to democracy. Those are very dangerous, polarizing things. While we may be polarizing on the Republican side, we want to talk about inflation. We want to talk about the border. We want to talk about the cost of living. We want to talk about all these issues that folks have to deal with every single day. So you have a party on issues and a party on rhetoric.
Yeah, we want to talk about is sometimes different from what we do talk about. So, you know, let's not make it sound like every speech Donald Trump gives, all he's talking about is inflation. But nevertheless.
No, I get it, but yeah.
But a point well taken. And hey, Chris Sununu knows something about politics, and he thinks that JD Vance was a good choice, so I don't know. Anyway, Governor, thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
You bet. You tell Chris Cuomo he was close. I love Chris. He's great, and he was really close on this one, but just missed it a little bit.
Yeah. All right. I'm sure he will have heard that. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.